Welcome to this week's episode of Interviews with Experts. And this week I'm excited to be joined by entrepreneur Vince Benedetto. And Vince is the founder and CEO of marketing automation firm Automated Dreams. And he's here today to talk to us all about digital marketing, specifically for authors. So, Vince, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're quite welcome. So, Vince, I loved hearing about your background earlier, and I'd love you to share that with our listeners and viewers as well. Tell us about your sort of background. How did you come to get into digital marketing for authors?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a really spontaneous person. So, like in college, I had 4 or 5 different internships. Like for marketing, I was doing market research for a security firm, market research and social media for an Eastern medicine clinic, for a newspaper, for a social media company. And right out of my MBA, I worked in what they call the experiential marketing department in Intel. But found out it wasn't for me. And, a week after I quit, they laid everybody off with a day's notice. So I knew that big companies weren't where I wanted to be. And yeah, I had this great opportunity. A really close friend became CEO of a company called Planet Sark. And Sark stands for Susan Ariel Rainbow Kennedy, who is an author of, I think, 17 best-selling books now. And she's best known for her handwritten art. Her handwritten books. Like she handwrites these 200-page books, and she has her own font called Sark font. She has paintings and blankets and quilts, and this huge following. So it was really like I deep dived into this like fanatical universe of authors. Her books were called like Succulent Wild Writer, Succulent Wild Woman. And yeah, I dove in handling all things marketing and digital marketing for her. That was, social media, funnels, your CRM systems, your e-commerce like Shopify and Etsy. So really thrown into everything. And yeah, it was about a 2-year period where I had all these, the skill set that I figured I could go on, build my own business out of. So that's really how I started in digital marketing.
Yeah, it's such a unique entrance into that world, isn't it? It must have been incredible to be working with somebody like that and being in that kind of environment.
Yeah, not so much. Like I think I honed my digital marketing skills, but also my creative skills. So I liken my copywriting skills to having worked with her, and I feel like I became my best creative self working for her as well.
Yeah, that's interesting. Did you find there was something about working with an author, and she's an artist as well, that obviously, as you said, it honed in on your copywriting skills. What else did you find it sort of brought out in you?
Yeah, maybe this feeling of like, if I'm not happy with what I'm doing in my life, then I'm the only person who can change it. Like authors are really, they're free spirits and they're entrepreneurs. They do what they want. And so should I. Like I should be happy. And like for them, there's no such thing as work-life balance because their work is their life. So yeah, I don't believe in work-life balance. I believe in, like life balance. Your work, like if you spend 40 hours a week, that is your life.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I brought out a greater sense of gratitude and appreciation for life, for creativity, yeah, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, it's such a valid point that you make. I think all entrepreneurs, regardless of the field, have that free spirit and the kind of definitely all very individual. And I think for authors, I always think their world is quite special in particular because they are like at any point in time they're an iteration of themselves, aren't they? Like they have to capture what they think and then figure out how to express it on a page which is static when they themselves are very fluid and kind of changeable. So it's quite a skill. I imagine Sark was no exception.
Yeah, exactly, definitely.
And so what did you learn then about the world of marketing for authors in particular? I'd love to hear a bit about this because you must have some pretty unique insights.
Yeah, I mean, depending on the author, like what genre they are, like we dealt with a lot of creative writers, and that's where they wanted to spend their life in creativity. So, like, business was sort of messy to them, but a necessary evil to to put their work on a platform and amplify it in the world. So I learned that like authors were more willing to just trust the experts. Like, you're the digital marketing expert, like just help me. What do I need to do? So what's really great with authors in particular, that's usually like pulling teeth with other sort of industries, is like, I need content. And they're like, okay, got it. Like if I ask for emails or landing page copy for any other type of client, it's like pulling teeth.
Yeah, very
um,
much.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. And so, where did you find the sort of the biggest marketing needs were for authors? Like if an author comes to you now at Automated Dreams and they go, right, okay, like I'm writing a book, or even I have a book, it's done already. Like, what do I do to get it out there more? Where do you start?
Yeah, I really start with their business systems, because authors, they usually don't have a team, or they have a very small team. But in order to play in the digital marketing realm, you have to have these very foundational core systems like your CRM, your mailing system. If you have a large, or you plan to have a large growing social media presence, you need to be able to track that. So it's really starting to build those tools that will support them where they are now, and in their growth in the future, without having to manage a big team, because that's usually why they became authors in the first place, so they wouldn't have to have a big team and build a big company. So yeah, from the get-go, or even not from the get-go, of they have this like messy business, it's how can we create these simplified systems that streamline certain like processes that should be automated, and allow them to live and work in this creative space, rather than in bookkeeping and accounting and customer service tickets. Like, that's not where they want to be.
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah.
this whole the possibilities that are open to us all now with the power of automation are immense. Um, but perhaps even to the extent where a lot of people are like what what that technically anything can be automated. I know that that's obviously a line that gets drawn between automation and relationship, like genuine human engagement. But what are some of the really
Yeah.
obvious automations you would suggest authors should have in place?
Yeah, I mean, so what's really like what I enjoy most is what we call like customer journey mapping or user flow mapping. So it's like, what is the journey that you want each and every person to have with your brand? Where are people coming to learn about you, and where do you want to lead them to? So it's really, it's mapping out all of these user flows. I think that's the most important first step. So it's like, okay, well, you want people to buy your book. Do you have a program after that? Like, what else do you want to sell them? So mapping out everything is really important. And I think from like the very like basic starting point is going to be, what does your website look like, and what do your lead magnets look like? And on top of the lead magnet, is it just like a simple autoresponder, like here's your download, you're never going to hear from me again? Obviously not. That's not the case. So yeah, what is the journey that you want each and every person to go through?
Yeah, and I think seeing it as a journey is a really nice way of putting it because it helps make it kind of joined up. I think. Do you find that some people who maybe find digital marketing a bit of a confusing land might just be like, oh, I'll just, like maybe they're quite short with it and they'll just maybe put one or two things in place, but and not join up the whole thing.
Yeah, I learned very early on that I should not overwhelm people with like what technology I'm going to use, like what strategies. It's just like, what do you want? Like, what's your dream business? What does your dream relationship with your clients look like? Um, and then we build in the pieces after that. So like, I don't start talking about technology until after like I know exactly, on paper, like what they want their business to look like.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that's a really great starting point. It's a
Yeah, it is.
necessary starting point.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like we start the books that we work on in a similar way. Actually, like we have an outlining tool that before we even go into like who the readers are and what the topics are, it's like what are the author's goals, and I think even when their main goal is to impact a large number of people, ultimately it needs to be tied to some kind of commercial like metric or outcome that can be measured, right? Otherwise, it's hard to
Exactly.
link to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you find that you have to manage expectations around goals? Like, would somebody say, okay, so what I really want from this book is I want to impact 1 million people, or, I want to double the business in the next 12 months, that kind of thing?
Yeah, yeah, managing expectations is hard. I mean, where I'm an expert at is taking the traffic that you're able to already generate or you already have generated and to enhance that customer journey, to get them further down the line, to get them, in different programs. And it's really important. Like I've had some authors and some, I just spoke to a brilliant vocal coach yesterday who's wanting to start her online business. She's like, okay, well, make me a funnel. I'm like, okay, what's your list? She's like, 800. Okay, where did you get there? She's like, I've been emailing since 2011. I'm like, okay, well, that 800 is not your list. And I'm like, I can build you this beautiful funnel, but how are you going to fill it? Yeah. She's like, well, my website. I'm like, well, how many people are coming to your website? I don't know. So it's really about knowing your numbers. Like, what does your traffic look like before you start to work with a company like ours? And can you confidently push more traffic through? So whether it's, yeah, I mean, we focus a lot on blog writing, copywriting. SEO has been how our company's grown. It's slow and steady, and it's not something like once you stop writing, it's gonna stop all of a sudden, like paid traffic. Like once you take the credit card away, it's gonna stop completely. Yeah, I mean, we get 3,000 views a month just from organic search. It said 2.5 thousand people clicked on search results last month for us. Yeah, so it's really focusing with authors on what their traffic strategy is first is really important.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I'm, speaking with authors, like I always talk about, you've got your book and you've got your blog and maybe a podcast, and these are like really strong, powerful types of content. And then other things that you might do marketing wise are like the sort of systems, that the fuel that pushes those three things forwards, like email marketing and what you have available on the website and all of the things you just mentioned. When it comes to lead magnets, then a question I get asked often is, well, can't I just use my book? Like, isn't that the whole point? I know what I say to that. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, like, no. The answer is no, always. I mean, you want people to buy your book. When you give away your book for free or you give chapters away for free, it sort of devalues like all this work you put into it. A lead magnet can really be anything. It could be, depending on what sort of author you are. Like we had an author who, she wrote fiction, but she also was a cookbook writer. So she created lead magnets, like, cookbooks for grandmothers, for like, for Christmas, for Hanukkah. And those were her lead magnets into buying her book.
Well, that's so cool. So she did, like mini books or mini guides.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, something for start could have been like, what is your inner critic saying to you right now? And that could have been some sort of quiz, like, what's the biggest inner critic in your life right now? And then, pushing into a book about your inner critics.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. Themed guides or cheat sheets, checklists, that kind of thing. I find really handy as well.
People love assessments. People love to learn about themselves.
Yes, yes, they do. I'm no exception. I love that kind of thing too. I think it's...
me too.
Yeah. Good, okay. And what do you say then about paid ads when it comes to promotion involving books? Are you a fan?
I am. However, I like to see like what the lowest hanging fruits are that are free first. And lowest hanging fruits could be like, what does your existing social media base look like? What does your email marketing list look like? Who are some other authors or some other leaders that would mail out for you for free? So what are all these other sources of warmer traffic that you can tap into? And build these systems to where if people purchase, they can refer, like make it really easy for someone to refer your book or to refer your work. And then add in paid marketing, but don't focus all of your lead generation on paid marketing, because it's a costly experiment. You have to be willing to lose about $3,000 up front, like just to test these audiences. Yeah,
I know, I've done it. The last time I did it was a couple of years ago actually, and I don't know, got some of the craziest people I've ever met in the professional realm. entering my world, and like messaging and yeah, trying to get one-to-one phone calls in a way that was not helpful for me or them, and like quite overwhelming, nasty comments on my ads and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. But then, I mean, obviously, it's the diamond in the rough, isn't it? It's that one person in every I don't know, 50 or 100 that is the absolute right fit for you in the business.
Yeah, and something that's really important too is when you're seeking out like a paid traffic expert, really make sure they know your industry, because I've made this mistake more than once. It's, someone says they're a Facebook ad expert, but they're an ad expert for insurance agents. Like, they're not going to, working for an author is going to be a big learning curve for them, and that learning curve means higher cost per click, and just lower results in the beginning. So really be choosy. Don't trust anyone that says, yeah, I'll get you results. Like, ask them, like, have you worked with authors before? And if they say no, like, just know that you're going to be the guinea pig.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I find Amazon ads actually really good. I've only experimented with them. It's like, it's not a service that I offer through Right Business Results or anything, but it's something that I experimented. I bought out a short book a few years ago, and I will have another play around in the new year when my own next book will come out, which will obviously be a 2021 version. So it'll be nice and up to date. And I find it really good. The way that you can link to other relevant authors and titles, and I found it pretty good value for money. And like, I'm the sort of person, I could like look at something digital and it'll break. So the fact that I was able to work Amazon ads, I thought was quite encouraging for other people. I don't know, do you think have you tried Amazon ads for authors? Is that something you found to be good?
Yeah, but we use a different kind of strategy. It's called the search, find, buy method for Amazon. And the search, find, buy, it's running some sort of like a rebate club, or it's in a sense giving your book away for free, so that you climb the keyword rankings a lot faster. And oftentimes it's a lot cheaper than pay-per-click. And pay-per-click, once you stop paying for it on Amazon, it's the traffic stops. So search, find, buy allows you to organically increase your ranking for any keywords, any genre, topic that you target, and stay on top. So once you make it to the first page of Amazon, then that's when the money starts to come in.
Yeah. And search, find, buy, is that an Amazon like feature, or is that
No, it's a strategy.
yeah, okay, I was gonna say,
Yeah,
like,
so we use Facebook Messenger bots, like, it's really cheap advertising, because basically you're saying like, hey, would you like to, can I give you my book away for free? And like, you give your feedback on it. Just go ahead, click this link, and this link's going to have some keywords on the end of it. They're going to purchase the book. You're going to rebate them. And eventually, like, 15 days later, they're going to leave a review organically. And it's cheaper than pay-per-click. That's for sure.
yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? And like, so you rebate them. I mean, does that not create quite a lot of admin, or I guess it's worth it for the sort of results that
We automate it.
yeah, of course.
Yeah, the whole thing's automated.
Of course, yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting, isn't it? That's awesome. I love learning about these workarounds. I think particularly when it comes to books and the ways that they can be leveraged, there are endless possibilities for creativity around the systems.
Yeah, I mean, the pushback against this is, well, I don't want to like rebate my product. That's going to be really expensive. I just talked to somebody who spent $9,000 in Amazon ads, and they had 106% cost per acquisition, which means they only made like $8,800 off that 9,000. And once they turn it off, like, that campaign's going to stop. But if they spent that same $9,000 in like this search, find, buy method, like that's going to have benefits, months afterwards, by simply having them on the first page for that keyword.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, because a lot of like traditional publishers, for example, now will have, maybe review panels for their authors. And so while they're genuine reviews, that it's only people who have read the book. At the same time, a traditionally published book may receive 800, 1,000, 2,000 really strong Amazon reviews, and then self-published authors are going to find that challenging to replicate with standard like pay-per-click or organic social media and email marketing, right?
Yeah, and also it's important not to make the mistake of giving discounts on Amazon. They don't really advertise like how big of a discount like hurts your search rankings, but we found that like if you offer more than 20%, like the search rankings don't work the same. So Amazon doesn't rank you as high. Because I know some authors will give like a 50% off coupon, but that's not doing your search any good.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, so like maximum 10% off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I also think like it goes back to the point you made earlier in this conversation as well about devaluing. Um, it's like often it's not just a time and energy investment. Authors who will leverage a company like mine, for example, there's also a financial investment, and um, typically with the way that we work, it means that it makes sense commercially for authors who have some form of premium offering and some
Hmm.
leverage, and then we can say very confidently, this is how we're going to get you a return on the investment with producing the book. But a lot of authors, self-published authors in particular, will be choosing that route because you can do it really, really inexpensively if you want to, right? So they're not going to necessarily
Right.
um, spend heaps on, I don't know, like marketing methods with limited chance of getting a decent return.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay. Uh, so interesting. I feel like there are so many questions. I'm just like, okay, but we have a limited period of time. Um,
Yeah.
Before we wrap this up, in that case, what is your top tip then for business leaders who are authors or about to become authors?
Yeah, top tip is before you invest in all these fancy funnels and fancy systems, like really have your traffic strategy written down. And traffic is everything that's paid, organic, partnerships. Just have it written down so you know who's going to be actually entering these fancy funnels and systems you're going to be spending thousands of dollars for. It's not one of those things where if you spend $10,000 to build these fancy funnels and systems that people will come. That's not the case. Yeah, like that saying where if you build it they'll come. Like that, if you build a funnel and don't push anyone towards it or don't put any traffic, they're not going to come.
Yeah, sure. And does that the same goes with sometimes you see like bestseller services, for example, like build a bestseller funnel, I'm sure this opens up a whole can of worms given the depth of what you know about bestseller, but um, any
Yeah,
advice?
I know how to get people on the New York bestseller. It's sort of it's a game, but I can't divulge that. Yeah, but those
Yeah.
bestseller funnels don't work so well.
Yeah, interesting. Okay, well, and I guess if people want to know more about that, they can get in touch with you, right? How can people find you if
Right.
they want to know more?
Yeah, you can always send me an email at vince@automateddreams.com, or if you just go to automateddreams.com, there's many ways to engage with us through a chat bot, through a Let's Talk page. We make it pretty easy to have a conversation.
Perfect. Vince, thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you, Georgia.